If you've ever wondered what the heck you actually said at the end of that party,
or wanted a do-over button for those cringe-worthy encounters,
then you've experienced what we call the joy of awkwardness.
I'm Mindy.
And I'm Bree.
And we're here to celebrate the awkward.
Embrace the awkward.
And remind you of one important thing.
You may be awkward,
but you're definitely not alone.
Well, that was awkward. Hi, Mendy. Mendy? Oh, wait. Mendy is on summer vacation. She has escaped the fluorescent lighting of the classroom, and she is out worshiping the sun, getting her vitamin happy. Probably on the roof of our gym, which is awesome. So if you see her, tell her that her tan looks fabulous. In the meantime, I am sitting in a closet at my mother-in-law's home, and today I am awkward and alone. But you know I'm not really alone, because I'm up on Cape Cod at Jeff's mom's house, and we have family around, and it's been wonderful to reconnect. One of the many things that I really love about Jeff's mom is that she is excellent at documenting our lives through photographs. And she puts a whole bunch of those photographs up everywhere. There are pictures on the walls, there are pictures on desks, there are pictures tucked in nooks and crannies. Every place in this house documenting some aspect of our lives. Pictures of family. There are pictures of friends. There are pictures of the family friends. There are pictures of exes. There are pictures of more exes. And it can be kind of overwhelming, but also, y'all, there are receipts here. And so right now I'm sitting in the closet and I'm looking at our wedding picture from almost 30 years ago. And I'm wondering two things. One, why is my wedding picture in the closet? And two, how the heck could I have made such a huge decision in my life, the decision meaning getting married, when I was a baby? Y'all, I got married when I was 22. And I know that at one time that was a perfectly respectable age to get hitched, but it blows my mind now, especially when I look at my own kids. I mean, my girls are thoughtful, intelligent, fully formed, amazing women. But in my eyes, they're basically still toddlers. Mama. So before I go any further, Mother, Daddy, I'm sorry. You must have been out of your mind with worry when Jeff and I got married before my brain was fully cooked. But the truth is, I didn't really care that much about getting married. I really didn't. Jeff and I had already been living together for 2 years. I knew he was family. The wedding part felt kind of like a formality. It was definitely a social construct, a community contract with cake. I chose carrot cake with cream cheese icing. One thing I really did like, though, was that a wedding was an excuse to wear a beautiful dress and throw a party for all our friends and family, which, by the way, my parents paid for. That still amazes me. Thanks, guys. I want you to know that we're 30 years in and your investment has paid off. But yeah, getting married, awkward. Getting married at 22, definitely awkward. And also, I didn't know what I was doing. I'd only been to a handful of weddings at that point, and 2 of those were my parents. Another was a cousin's wedding, which was supposed to happen at the beach, but it got rained out, so they actually said their vows in the parking garage of a condo that was under construction. It was pretty cool, though, I have to say. Another wedding was a big Hollywood extravaganza. It was one of Jeff's friends from college, and it was at director John Landis's house. So he did a bunch of movies like National Lampoon. Is that it? I'm not sure about that. IMDb him, John Landis. He was a really big deal. That wedding was outside, overlooking all of Hollywood. It was a fantastic, star-studded event. So when I had to choose between a church, city hall, a parking lot, or a big glamorous Hollywood wedding, you better believe I was going for the glitz. And the glitz began with the engagement party. At the time, we had recently moved to New York City, and I was working for a pair of promoters at Gauguin at the Plaza. So Gauguin at the Plaza was a nightclub in the basement of the Plaza Hotel. And it used to be Trader Vic's back in the day. I think it was a really big deal back then. I don't know. All I know is that when I told my great aunt Lou that I was working at what used to be Trader Vic's, she turned beet red and her eyes got excited, and that meant that there had been shenanigans at Trader Vic's, and Aunt Lou was the queen of shenanigans. I loved working there because in my utter wholesomeness, I was obsessed with a book called Eloise. She lived in the Plaza Hotel, and at the Plaza Hotel, there's a big portrait of Eloise, and every day on my way down to the basement where Trader Vic's / Gauguin at the Plaza was, I passed by the picture of Eloise and Skipperdy to remind myself that I was living my 6-year-old dream. All to say that it felt really fancy, but in actuality, it was pretty darn lame. So my task was to walk around to all the law firms in Midtown and flirt with the young lawyers and try to convince them to throw an office party at the place that used to be Trader Vic's. I'm now thinking about how kind of sketchy this whole situation was, but it paid $10 an hour, and I was pretty damn good at it. The perk was I could throw a party for up to 75 people during happy hours, which is 5 to 7, as long as it didn't happen on a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday. We were closed on Mondays, so I scheduled our engagement party at the Plaza Hotel for a Tuesday and invited all 25 people we knew in the city. So everybody was allowed one free drink each. I'm telling you guys, at the time, I thought that I was so swanky, but I'd recently turned 21, and I felt pretty darn fancy sipping my tequila sunrise at Gauguin at the Plaza at 5 p.m. on a Tuesday. The reason it was tequila sunrise was because that was the only drink I knew about. That was the only mixed drink I'd ever had. And yeah, well, that's because I was 21. When Jeff was 21, Jeff is about 9.5 years older than me, but who's counting? He was far more worldly. When he was 21, he was going on a year-long trip all around the world with a cohort of really bright and wonderful students, many of whom were still good friends, and some of whom made it to our engagement party. So there were the Sarahs, who took me under their wing when we moved to New York. They had cool Brooklyn apartments and real jobs, and I thought they were the shit. There was Gail, whom I absolutely adored. Gail was a healer, and she was doing this thing where she was healing the Hudson River using, acupuncture. Whenever I saw Gail, I just felt loved. She was one of those people. And there was also Betsy, who is a food writer and a critic for, Fodor's. She was loud and boisterous and edgy, and I was totally intimidated by her. And also super thrilled that she even tolerated me. Can you tell I was giving major little sister vibes there, but I ate it up. And then there was Maria. So Maria is Jeff's ex. And Maria is quite possibly one of my favorite people. She was and is smart and funny and kind and quirky and talented and beautiful and warm and just wonderful. She was also already married, so, she wasn't competition, and I really liked that they were still close. You should know that in my family, we tend to stay really close to our exes. At any family gathering, someone's ex is surely invited, sometimes multiple exes. I think there was one Thanksgiving where some of the exes even invited their exes, and we all got along famously. This is what my family does. I really liked that Jeff was still close to Maria. It felt like home to me. Now, Maria lived in Boston, so she didn't come to our Tuesday night engagement party, but she was definitely invited to the wedding. So I decided to use that model for how I'd interact with my exes. Because I had two. One was your classic boyfriend situation. high school sweetheart, love letters from boarding school. There was a promise ring with diamond chips in it that I lost somewhere along the way. We ended things mostly smoothly. But that's a story for another day. The other ex was not really a boyfriend. I would say it was more of a situationship. We went to plays, we goofed off in bookstores, and we had this totally dumb, inside joke where we'd wear clown noses in public places, grocery stores, libraries. Once, we got kicked out of a bank. Because apparently you're not supposed to wear disguises in a bank. Who knew? Okay, so let's call this ex Nikolai. Nikolai had lived in Japan and Morocco. He spoke like 6 languages, and he was also very, very bad for me. I was obsessed. We lived in the same apartment complex, about a mile from campus, and I showed up unannounced to his room more nights than I care to admit. Instead of studying for finals, I let him spoon-feed me homemade cookie dough ice cream under the glow of his red-hot chili pepper party lights. Naked. My roommates thought I had moved out for a minute there because I only came home to do my laundry and, regrettably, to do his laundry as well. I even wrote a play that semester about a woman who smothers her boyfriend because she loves him too much, if that lets you know anything about my mindset. Thank God it was unproduced. Nikolai seemed to like me well enough too. But he was obsessed with Jane and Stacy. I know this because I read his journal when he took a shower. I'm not proud of this, but it did give me information that was important. Jane and Stacy were 2 people I wanted to keep close. So I became friends with Jane and Stacy. First, to keep my enemies closer. Second, to impress him. And third, because what I found was I genuinely liked them. They were fun. We really got along. We liked doing the same things. And by the time Nikolai and I broke up, and by the way, when we broke up, it was because I read him a monologue that ended in, "Let's hold each other one more time and end this madness." Y'all. But the good thing was, when I left that situationship, I gained 2 new best friends. So when I got married, Jane and Stacy were my bridesmaids. And naturally, I thought, if Jeff is inviting his exes, I should invite mine too. Plus, he had like 75 friends coming, and I had to bulk up my side of the guest list. So I invited both exes. Uh-oh. The high school sweetheart declined because he was sensible. Nikolai also declined until he found out that Jane and Stacy were in the wedding party. Then he booked a flight.
And away we go!
It was a destination wedding. That means everybody came for about a week to hang out and get tan before the wedding. So I only saw Nikolai about once or twice that week. And to be honest, he didn't look great, which made me worry about him. But also, it helped. He might have tried to hang with Jane and Stacy over that time, but they were on bridesmaids duty, which mostly meant talking me off of very emotional ledges, mostly having to do with my hair. So, by the time the wedding day arrived, I'd honestly forgotten that he would be there. So we got married on St. Simon's Island on a little grassy knoll above the sand at the King and Prince Hotel. We weren't religious, so we had Jeff's best friend, Gary, officiate. Gary was a burly poet, restaurateur, bartender with a mail-order ordination from the Church of the Redwoods out of the back of Rolling Stone magazine. Picture Ernest Hemingway if he'd been a linebacker and also a very irreverent reverend. So I'm walking through the grass, which was sort of the aisle, in 4-inch heels. Another mistake, trying to be the vision of a leggy virgin princess. But the ground beneath the grass was kind of soft and loamy, so those 4-inch heels kept sinking into the earth, and I basically had to tiptoe through the whole ceremony like a Barbie in a bounce house. So I'm standing there with the love of my life, Jeff, and his best friend, Gary, and my calves are cramping from basically being on point. And we're saying our vows and trying to jump through all the performative hoops of making our love legal when I look out at the audience. And there he was, Nikolai, wearing a clown nose at my wedding.
Well, that was awkward.
I know. Like you, my first thought was, what an idiot. My second thought was, that's the most romantic thing he's ever done for me, and it's happening as I marry someone else. And my third thought was, wait, am I actually standing in a sinkhole? I can't stand on my tiptoes forever, and I am on my way down. At which point, Jeff instinctively steadied me by placing his hand on the small of my back, and I looked at him and his perfect, unclowned nose, and was really, really happy that he was the guy I was marrying. After that, I don't remember a lot. There was dancing, there was cake, there was champagne. Jeff and I did that dance from Pulp Fiction, which I'm super proud of. And we also danced to Dave Matthews, which may not have stood the test of time. And even though we had asked our DJ, Tommy Tucker, to avoid any country music, all 200 plus guests ended up line dancing to Achy Breaky Heart. And it was awesome. At some point, Jeff's ex Maria handed out sparklers to everyone at the reception, and it set off the fire alarm. But it was kind of time for everyone to go by then, too. But all in all, the reception was really beautiful, and before we knew it, Jeff and I were on a plane headed to our honeymoon in Savannah. But the next day, we heard what happened at the after party. Now, y'all know all the good stuff happens at the after party. And our wedding's after party was apparently no exception. So Gary, the linebacker minister, our irreverent reverend, cornered Nikolai. And he lifted him off the ground by the scruff of his neck with a whole crowd around them, pinned him to the wall, and growled in his best linebacker Hemingway voice, "Fuck you, party clown. Get out of here." And everybody cheered. Now this is why boys need best friends. And also, maybe why you shouldn't invite your exes to your wedding, unless your ex is Maria, because the fire alarm was kind of exciting. As for Nikolai, I still don't know what his clown nose hijinks meant. Maybe he meant, "I loved you once," or "I still want attention," or maybe it was just, "Wouldn't it be funny if I wore a clown nose to your ceremony?" Whatever it meant, it's now part of my wedding story. The dress, the vows, the cake, the sparklers, and the guy on the clown nose. And honestly, I wouldn't change it. Although I can pretty much guarantee that Jeff would. So, that's my awkward wedding story. What's yours? If you have a story somewhere that went wildly, wonderfully sideways, send it our way. Drop us a message, send us a voice memo, or just scrawl it on a napkin and toss it toward the internet. You might hear it on a future episode, and clown noses are not required. See y'all next week. Keep it awkward, y'all. This has been an Awkward Sage production.